Here's an energy update for April 2022. The controllers have engaged in a plot to end the Great Awakening. So I'm going to expose what that plot is so that we do not fall for this. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. The controllers of this planet are trying an interesting trick to end the Great Awakening and make everyone go back to sleep. In this video, I'm going to share with you exactly how they plan to do this. We have a new entry in the controllers' amazing cast of characters who is making a special pronouncement. It's this guy whose name is Larry the Reptile. Actually, that's not his real name. But his real first name is Larry. I think I'll call him Larry the Reptile anyway. I mean, what the heck, right? Anyhow, this guy is the founder and the CEO of a company named BlackRock, which is the world's largest asset manager. I think they manage somewhere in the neighborhood of like $10 trillion of investment funds. So they have a tremendous amount of financial power. Anyway, good old Larry recently made a pronouncement via media outlets like the New York Times and the Financial Times. He said that globalism is now over because Putin has ruined everything. Putin just wrecked their whole plan. So no more globalism. Everything is going back to being local. Really? So they're publicly quitting just like that? Because of a war in one small country that most people probably couldn't even find on a map? Okay, now this is a really dumb plan and we should not fall for this. Here's what I think is really going on. The controllers are well aware that the Great Awakening is expanding and becoming a potential threat to their agenda. Because they are so good at psychological warfare, they know that the easiest and fastest way to end the Great Awakening is to tell the people that the controllers have lost, and now all the problems that the world faces are Putin's fault. The hope is that the average person will say, "Yay, we won!" and go back to sleep. And the controllers will have very cleverly redirected the anger of millions of people away from them and over to Putin. Here's a simple illustration of how this works. So in this first drawing, you can see that the controllers are now aware that people all over the world are really getting upset with them and are starting to become awake to the fact of what is really going on. So here's how they're trying to fix that little problem. And now the controllers can go back to operating in secret because hopefully the people think that their global takeover plan has failed. Now they can continue on with their evil plan and say it's Russia's fault. See, they needed to take all that energy of the Great Awakening and get it back under their control so that they would be able to move forward again. Here's how they're manipulating us psychologically in order to achieve this. This drawing represents the real Great Awakening. We can see that the people of Earth understand that they collectively want freedom and that their problem is the controllers and their evil dictatorship. So what they're doing now is shifting that collective energy to what you see in this new illustration by manufacturing their fake archetypes of how they want us to be looking at things. So what they're trying to do is make Putin and Russia the archetype of an evil dictatorship and a planetary takeover. And then they're portraying Ukraine as the archetype of freedom and democracy. See, in the real Great Awakening, we were directing our power and our energy toward the actual perpetrators. Now they are trying to shift our paradigm so that we don't see them anymore. Instead, they want us to see Russia as the bad guy who's causing all of our problems. So now they're going to say, oh, you can't have food or cars because of Putin. It's not us. Remember, we lost. They'll say Russia is a threat to freedom and democracy. We all have to band together before Putin and Russia take over the whole world. This is how they're taking the energy of the Great Awakening and getting it back under their control. Now remember that what's really going on here is a total alien AI takeover of our planet. And we are in the thick of that process right now. And they're getting ready to use climate as their ultimate excuse for all of this. So for this month of April, and maybe for the next few months, they are perfecting the systems that they created during that health issue of the past 2 years. See, they want to keep that whole infrastructure in place and continue to refine it. And they are also in the process of taking down life as we always knew it in this world. This is why they can't afford to have us thinking that it's them anymore, because that would only amplify and accelerate our true awakening. See, they are deliberately using this war as a mechanism to continue with their diabolical plan and then get Putin and Russia blamed for everything. Which makes you wonder if they orchestrated this war for precisely this purpose, so they could shift the blame to Putin for causing food and energy shortages when the controllers are actually the instigators of the whole thing. Once they take the heat off themselves, then they can say, oh, we can use these shortages to forcibly advance our climate agenda. People will have to comply because they won't have a choice. I mean, if they don't have food and gas, they're going to have to adapt in a whole new way. You see how they always create these crises so they don't get blamed for anything? So basically, this is all about conditioning us to fit in with their futuristic control grid. So then when they finally roll out their big crisis, which I'll call the weather crisis, we will have already learned to obey the solutions to that crisis. Plus, it gives them a chance to test those solutions and our reactions to them in advance of their total takeover. First, they use that health issue to force us to comply with lockdowns, no human contact, and impaired breathing. Plus, compliance with that sharp thing that I'm not allowed to talk about. So now we are like well-trained animals. We know exactly what to do the next time around. The next step is to get us used to deprivation of food, energy, and money on a global scale. They're going to use the idea of an out-of-control Putin to force us to adapt to massive deprivation and then blame Russia for all of it. Just like with that health issue, they'll tell us that we must adapt or die. Now, I'm not saying that Putin is not to blame for the war in Ukraine. I'm just saying that it's not that simple. Like everything else these controllers do, there's a whole lot more going on behind the scenes. They are conditioning us like animals to live under totally artificial, controlled conditions. It's kind of like if you captured a wild horse and you needed to break its spirit in order to tame it and get it under your control. In the same way, the controllers want to break our spirit as human beings. They want to get us used to their AI digital corral. You know, if you step away from all the distractions of the media and of social media, you can see that this is a really stupid plan. And remember this, a stupid plan can only be enacted upon stupid people. And they've been using compulsory government schooling to make us collectively stupid since the mid or late 1800s. And they've been using religion to make us spiritually stupid for thousands of years. This is why we need to reclaim our minds, our natural intelligence, and our ability to think for ourselves. We are creators by nature. We're not going to let these crazy people break our spirit with their stupid plan. Now, April is an interesting month. It has a truly fresh and rejuvenating energy in nature. And if we tap into that energy, we can really benefit from its enlivening characteristics. But we also have to contend with the massive energy of the controller's agenda on this planet. And in that sense, I think that April has a real mixed energy. There is a hidden transition unfolding, an effort on the part of the controllers to completely restructure civilization itself. And they definitely want to keep us either asleep, confused, or totally off balance. So these are like two completely different streams of energy. You have the natural energy of the planetary seasons, and then you have the artificially induced energy of the controllers. Therefore, I think that April is a great month to consciously choose which stream of energy you are going to align with. If you align with the natural energy of the planet, then you can cleanse and clear your consciousness of the manipulations of these controllers. Then you can restore and reinvigorate your strength of consciousness as a naturally evolving human creator. Now, I want to mention one other thing. The media keeps screaming about nuclear war and total planetary annihilation. I find this very strange. You have to wonder if they're really doing this to get us used to the idea of planetary annihilation so that later they can transfer that emotion of fear over to the climate issue. Here's what we need to realize about these controllers. Everything they're doing is completely artificial and out of alignment with natural human beings and with nature itself. This means that nothing they do or propose can stand on its own merits. They always need to produce an excuse for everything they do. They want to turn us into AI-controlled, digitized humans. Now, we obviously know this is wrong, so we would never accept this at face value. Therefore, what they do is they move us unconsciously in this direction, step by step, on a path that is peppered with excuses all the way. For example, they want us to get used to eating synthetically produced foods. So food shortages are the perfect excuse to move us in this direction, even though this planet is naturally capable of providing us with all the food we need. They deliberately engineer these shortages to force us into the direction they want us to go. And they don't want us driving cars and traveling as free agents in our own lives anymore. They don't want us to have much money or any resources that enable us to live freely. So they engineer energy shortages to force us into living in highly restricted ways. And now they know that if they want to put strange substances into our bodies, all they need to do is produce another health issue. So with all that said, it's important that we don't buy into their nonsense that the controllers have lost and that it's all Putin's fault. See, these controllers are playing 5D chess. And we, on the other hand, are playing a game called Pin the Tail on the Donkey. You know how that works, right? You try to aim for something while being completely blindfolded. That's the game that we're playing. They're playing 5D chess and we're playing Pin the Tail on the Donkey. So a lot of what I'm saying is in an effort to help us take off the blindfold so that we fully comprehend our situation. Which brings me to the topic of stories about hidden saviors. There are all kinds of narratives out there about hidden alliances, white hats, and ETs who are secretly working to end this madness. Now, there's no way to know if these stories are true or not. Maybe some are, maybe some aren't, but there's really no way to know for sure. But what I do notice is that some of them are becoming increasingly conditional. Like certain conditions have to be met before these good guys emerge and are willing to show themselves. For example, I recently heard that ETs are only willing to show up and share their advanced technology with us for a wonderful new Earth if people on Earth believe in them first. The other thing I notice is that the timing is always being moved. I call it the moving goalpost syndrome. But here's what always confuses me about these guys. If they have the level of power necessary to end all of this insanity, then why are they waiting? What on earth are they waiting for? I mean, we are long past midnight at this point. You know, the Christians have been waiting for Jesus for over 2,000 years, and he still hasn't shown up. But you know, questioning these stories is as taboo as questioning God. So we have been living on this planet in a blindfolded state for thousands of years. And apparently we are so used to being blindfolded that we are also fine with being totally blind to all of these amazing promises that so far have never come to pass. And I think it's a pretty dangerous place to be in at this point, to be sitting back and assuming that we don't need to do anything because the secret good guys have everything under control. If you look around, you can actually see that things are quite out of control. So instead of waiting for these invisible people to do something, we need to wake up to our actual situation and evolve our consciousness to the degree necessary to counter this AI atrocity before it engulfs us on a planetary level. Now, we can only do this by shifting our consciousness to a much more expanded reference point than just this planet alone. We need to understand that we are residents of this universe. We can actually stop identifying ourselves as only being Earth humans. See, when you identify yourself only as an Earth human, then you place yourself within the spiritual dominion of those who control this planet. You are essentially consenting to being part of the controlled masses. You thus have your future journey in this cosmos woven into the fabric of whatever is happening here on Earth. Instead, you can legitimately identify yourself as a cosmic being and as a citizen of this universe. When you do this, you have a chance to move your very soul out of AI's domain of control. You no longer have to see yourself as one of the controller's subjects. This is what I mean when I often talk about the importance of having an extraterrestrial perspective. This way you align yourself with the reality and the laws of the natural universe. You are in the universe and you are a part of the universe. And because this is already the truth about you as a natural being, it's really just a matter of being willing to acknowledge and accept that truth for yourself. Now, I want to mention something about the month of April and about the next few months ahead of us. The controllers are preparing and planning for their next move. Meanwhile, they're keeping us distracted with some really stupid stories like that Hollywood thing that just happened at I think it was the Oscars. I mean, do we really need to hear about that every single day, 24/7 for like an entire week? Anyway, all of these distractions can create the illusion that the controllers have given up or that they're losing. But the controllers always think strategically and they think ahead. They plan accordingly. Now, we, on the other hand, have been trained to sit back and assume that someone else is taking care of things. Well, the controllers are definitely taking care of things, but it's certainly not in a way that benefits us. So we need to learn to take care of ourselves as individuals. I say as individuals because we can't fully count on the collective to always come to their senses. So I think it's important that as individuals we learn to function at least at the same level as the controllers and be equally as strategic with our own precious lives. See, the high-level controllers already know that they occupy space in this universe. They in no way see themselves as merely limited to planet Earth. We need to expand our consciousness to at least that level and eventually beyond it. That's the only way that we have a chance to be free of their grasp. So if it seems like we have a few months of relative calm at this point, we need to take full advantage of that opportunity where we can focus without distractions. Look at it this way. Your goal is to strengthen your consciousness so that you will be able to withstand whatever else it is that they have in store. What this means is to be crystal clear about who you are as an evolving human and unwavering in your personal support of yourself as a cosmic creator. Now, in springtime, we see nature expanding its energy outward and filling the earth with new life. We can do the same for ourselves. We can fill our being with the light of truth and then be true to ourselves. We can practice being loving and supportive of ourselves instead of being negative about who and what we are. So I encourage you to take in the fresh air of the freedom to create and do whatever you can to make your life more meaningful for you. This is a worthy cause and a worthy occupation. The more that you exercise your power to create, the more that you will strengthen yourself and successfully make it through this bizarre journey of Earth's current stage of evolution. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would benefit from this information. And be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.